pro-business center that Barack Obama and Bill Clinton had pursued.
And look, individual policies here and there may be exactly the right way to go or not. But what you describe in total sounds like a kind of capture of the establishments of both parties by corporate interests in a way. And it sounds kind of fatalistic. How well would you say past reforms have held?
Well, yes, there certainly is a regulatory capture here. And that is why companies, oftentimes don't really care who wins the presidency. They don't fight that hard because they want to be in bed with both Republicans and Democrats. They just want to be with the winner. Washington has a long history of well-intentioned ethics and lobbying reform proposals that have sort of done the opposite. A really good one is the 2002 McCain-Feingold law, which sought to get big money out of politics at the time. Companies and unions and individuals could give $1 million checks to the political parties. We banned that, which is a good thing. But what happened is that transferred power to lobbyists, because all of a sudden lobbyists could bundle campaign contributions from dozens or scores of their clients and hand over huge checks to members of Congress, giving them far more influence than we wanted them to have.
There's a lot of energy on the left of the Democratic Party and the far right of the Republican Party, a populist sensibility that says we really do want to constrict the ability of corporate interests to dictate policy. If Congress did decide to try to disrupt that, what kinds of measures could you envision?
Well, this is one of the more fascinating things that I see right now is that far right, the J.D. Vances, the Josh Hawleys, the Matt Gaetzes of the world seem to be teaming up more and more with some of the more progressive Democrats like Elizabeth Warren on legislation that helps consumers and is opposed by corporations. I mean, a good example is right now when Congress comes back after the election, there's a big spending bill that needs to get done. And the two main lobbying fights now are Republicans in Congress are trying to add two bills to the year-end must-pass spending legislation. And one is the Kids Online Privacy Act, which is sponsored by Kathy McMorris Rogers, a Republican from Washington. And that's a bill that's really opposed by Google and the big tech companies. And the other one is a cap on debit card fees, which is a bill proposed by Republicans. And that sort of shows how Washington seems to be changing. And I feel like not many people are noticing this, but Republicans are getting more and more populist, more and more pro-worker, more and more anti-corporate, and that's aligning them with the far left, with the Bernie Sanders and the Elizabeth Warrens. And it's a really fascinating change.
We've been talking with Brody Mullins. He's a former reporter for the Wall Street Journal and co-author of the book, The Wolves of K Street. Brody, thanks for joining me.
Thanks so much.
It's Here and Now.
Hi, I'm Alonzo Bowden from Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. I'm a car guy. I'm so into cars, I change cars like people change shoes. I figure over my lifetime, that's cost me probably the gross domestic product of New Zealand. Listen, when it's time for you to trade up, think about this station. Your old car could pay for Morning Edition or Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. So come on, turn your old ride into the programs you love. Here's how.
For more information, go to our website, radioiq.org.
Years of war in Ukraine weigh heavily on the minds of its youngest people. Children's books can help process some of what they're going through or just offer an escape.
It's not so much a book about the war, it's the book about the little victories that were made every day.
Children's literature in wartime, next time on The World.
That's The World, Monday through Thursday afternoons at 3 on Radio IQ.
Funding for Here and Now comes from MathWorks, creators of MATLAB and Simulink software for technical computing and model-based design. MathWorks, accelerating the pace of discovery in engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com. And WBUR, presenting Endless Thread, a podcast about the Internet's untold histories and unsolved mysteries. From stories about a mountain of dishware in the woods to the world's largest glitter consumer. Endless Thread. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Here and Now. Our next segment is all about recipes and the herb sage. So now we have a guest with some sound advice.
If we can pull it off, we'll also have zero bad dad puns. So I'm ready for some astute ideas.
from none other than Kathy Gunst, our resident chef at Here and Now, a very wise source of recipes. Kathy, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope my advice is sage.
You said it.
I did say it. I am a huge lover of the herb sage. For me, it is the aroma and the flavor of this season of autumn. There is just something about the woodsy, earthy scent and the powerful flavor that just spells fall to me in the best way.
I love that. Well, you've also brought not only wisdom, but recipes, Kathy. First, you suggest we fry sage leaves. How might we serve that?
Well, this is a really wonderful and extraordinarily simple recipe. It comes from my friend Domenica Marchetti, an Italian food writer. You take a whole sage leaf, so it's still on the stem, and you, in a bowl, mix up flour, seltzer or sparkling water, and an egg. It's a very simple batter, and you dip the whole sage leaf in, and then you shallow fry it in just a touch of vegetable oil, canola oil. You could use olive oil, and this is the most wonderful kind of little bite, a burst of this herb that comes through with this lightly fried batter. It's not like deep frying. It's not complicated. Wonderful with a glass of wine, a glass of bubbly, or sparkling water. It's also fabulous on salads and on top of soup. And it's just a great way to honor the entire sage leaf.
Yeah, wow. And for this time of year, Kathy, speaking of autumn, boy, this next recipe just screams autumn to me. Sauteed pork chops with sage, dates, and figs. Tell us more.
This is comfort food. You saute pork chops with fresh chopped sage leaves. So when you cook sage and you put it in at the beginning of a recipe, it mellows. So it becomes a subtler flavor. And we kind of want that. Then you finish off the pork chops in the oven. You clean out the skillet and you saute a little bit of butter with figs. If you can get fresh ones, they are in season. Fabulous. If not, you can use dried dates, and then I add whole sage leaves. So we're using sage in two different ways, and a splash of white wine. Cook it down for a few minutes, take the pork chops out of the oven, pour this gorgeous fig, date, and sage leaf on top of it. It is just a wonderful recipe, and it really works for a weekday because it doesn't take long at all. Thing about sage is that it is a botanical name for it is salvis, which means healing. So I love thinking about that in terms of recipes, that this sage is somehow healing.
You know, among the dishes that heal me are those that involve pasta. You have cavatappi pasta with roasted squash and sage for us. I had to Google, confession, cavatappi is a kind of curly macaroni. Why'd you pick it?
Because of the way that it clings to sauces. Yeah, imagine a sort of corkscrew shape, an S-shaped pasta. You could use macaroni, you could use penne, you could use any of your favorite shapes. And pumpkin and winter squash ravioli are very popular in Italian cuisine, and it's often served with a brown butter and sage sauce. So I thought, why not deconstruct this? So we have the pasta, and then I just roasted cubes of winter squash. Again, you could use pumpkin with sage. I toss the roasted squash with the cavatappi, and then I do a brown butter and sage on top of it. And it's just heaven. I could eat this a few nights of the week. And squash is very healthy, so we'll focus on that. Yeah. But it's just a wonderful combination of winter squash and sage are very good friends.
Yeah. So, Kathy, give us advice on buying sage. Where do you buy it? How do we think about buying?
Any gardener has, any gardener or farm. I mean, when you plant sage, it turns into a bush quickly, even here in the Northeast. Look for it at farmers markets, look for it in supermarkets, look for organic, then you don't have to wash it and worry about it. But you want it to be on the stem because it'll stay fresher longer, and you'll be able to see that it's green and not brown. Sometimes it looks a little bit gray or purplish. That's wonderful. There are many varieties of sage, but it's really good for you. It's got a ton of iron and calcium and vitamin C. So It's a great herb for your health and also for all your cooking this time of year.
That is Here and Now resident chef Kathy Gunst. We'll have all of her recipes at hereandnow.org. Kathy, thanks as always.
Thank you.
Roanoke County Board of Supervisors meeting for October 22nd, 2024. At this time, I would like to welcome Dr. Amy Bordeaux and invite her to come forward to the podium and adjust the mic as needed there, Doctor. I invite you to tell us about your church and then to lead us in prayer. When Dr. Bordeaux is ready to lead us in prayer, I invite all who so desire to stand for the prayer and then to remain standing to join the board reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yes, my name is Amy Venning Bordeaux, and I grew up in Roanoke County and attended school, all the public schools and Sunday school at the First Church of Christ Scientists, which at that time was located in downtown Roanoke on Church Street. In 1970, it moved and is located now on Overland Road across from James Madison Middle School. I am a Christian Science practitioner enlisted to pray for those for specific prayer asking for help, and also a longtime member at the First Church of Christ Scientists in Roanoke. We're the only Christian Science church in Southwest Virginia. And our services are held on Sundays and Wednesdays and are open to all. And we follow the teachings of Christ Jesus and his healing works. We read from the Holy Bible, along with a spiritual companion book entitled Science and Health, with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy, written and entered according to the Act of Congress in 1875. At the beginning of the 20th century, Mary Baker Eddy was one of the most recognized women in America. Just to be clear, we are sometimes confused with Scientology, and I invite you to come visit our Christian Science reading room and our church services. The reading room is located at the church, where you can read and study the Bible as well as thousands of documented healings in Christian Science, and also ask questions about spiritual healing in the 21st century, following Christ Jesus' teachings. We also give out free Bibles. For more information on our services in Christian Science healing, you can visit us at our website at christianscienceroanoke.com. And thank you so much for having me here today. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Mother, Love, thy kingdom is come and is here now. Let the reign and harmony of divine truth, life, and love be established in us, and rule out of us all sin and discord of any kind, that thy word may enrich the affections of all mankind and govern them. Beholding the task ahead, we pause and wait on divine mind, intelligence, to guide and direct decisions that will bless all the board members and citizens of Roanoke County and beyond. We look to thee in every need and never look in vain. Thy hand in all things we behold, and all things are in thy hand. The thought of thee is mightier far than discord and indecision are. All things are possible with omnipotent mind at the helm of thought. Bless those who are called to walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called, as St. Paul says, in the spirit of meekness, humility, and patience, forbearing one another in love, working together in the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Let us be renewed in the spirit of your mind, putting away old ways and putting on the new man, which is created by God in righteousness, in true holiness, and brotherliness. Let us behold the manner of love our Father hath bestowed upon us, that we are called the sons and daughters of God, and inherit the same Christ-like spirit, expressed in patience, understanding, humility, right thinking, and acting. Thank you, dear Lord, for your presence, power, and all-knowing divine mind, embracing us in your love each and every day. Thank you for answering our prayers. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon. Welcome to our meeting for October 22nd, 2024. Regular meetings are held on the second and fourth Tuesday at 3 p.m. Public hearings are held at 7 p.m. on the fourth Tuesday of each month. Deviations from this schedule will be announced. The meetings are broadcast live on RVTV 3, Channel 3, and will be rebroadcast on Thursday at 7 p.m. and on Sunday from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. Board of Supervisors meetings can also be viewed online through Roanoke County's website at www.roanokecountyva.gov. Individuals who require assistance or special arrangements to participate in or attend Board of Supervisors meetings should contact the clerk to the board at 540-772-2005 at least 48 hours in advance. Please turn off all cell phones or place them on silent. Item A, opening ceremonies. Number 1, roll call. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Radford?
Here.
Mrs. Hooker?
Here.
Ms. Shepherd?
Here.
Mr. North?
Here. Item B, request to postpone, add to, or change the order of agenda items. Are there any requests to postpone, add to, or change order of agenda items?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Kaywood.
No, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lubeck.
No changes, sir.
Item C, proclamations, resolutions, recognitions, and awards. Number 1, proclamation expressing the appreciation of the County of Roanoke to Roanoke College for the generosity and continued partnership. Chair recognizes Richard K. Wood, County Administrator. Mr. K. Wood.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The proclamation that you have before you recognizes Roanoke College and their president, Dr. Frank Shushak, for their generosity and their partnership with our recent visiting delegation from Opole, Poland. And in addition to providing lodging for 5 people for 6 nights, which was obviously a considerable savings to the county, the college also hosted 2 dinners, one at Dr. Shushak's home. And we just wanted to recognize that partnership and their participation in the visit. I think our delegation really enjoyed being able to stay on the beautiful campus of Roanoke College. And I think without that partnership, I don't think the visit likely would not have happened at all, and certainly would not have been as nice for our guests that we had the privilege to host, I guess, a week before last. So with that, I would recommend that you all consider the proclamation before you, and I will be happy to present that to Dr. Shushak on your behalf.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read the proclamation?
Proclamation expressing the appreciation of the County of Roanoke to Roanoke College for their generosity and continued partnership. Whereas the County of Roanoke and Roanoke College have had a deep, long-standing, and productive partnership for many years, often discussing initiatives for regional collaboration, education, and growth. And whereas many of Roanoke County's most talented employees and leaders are Roanoke College graduates. And whereas when Roanoke County began preparations to host a visiting delegation from its sister city of Opole, Poland, Roanoke County Administrator Richard K. Wood, on behalf of the Roanoke County Board of Supervisors, approached Roanoke College President Dr. Frank Shushak Jr. to see if Roanoke College would be willing to partner with Roanoke County and the Roanoke Valley sister cities in this effort. And whereas Dr. Shushak, on behalf of Roanoke College, donated beautiful accommodations in its Monterey house for the delegation to stay for the duration of their 6-day visit. And whereas Dr. Shushak and Roanoke College staff went above and beyond our arrangements and expectations to ensure the visiting delegation had the opportunity to explore and enjoy the Roanoke College campus, including dining with the Shushak family at their home, the Fishrick House. And whereas the County of Roanoke looks forward to future partnerships, projects, and an ever-growing relationship with Roanoke College. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed by the Board of Supervisors of Roanoke County a sincere and well-deserved expression of appreciation and gratitude to Roanoke College President Dr. Frank Shushak Jr. and Roanoke College.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the proclamation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? There being none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mrs. Hooker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes. Any board members have any comments? I'll say it was very hospitable to work with Roanoke College on this endeavor, and sorry Dr. Shushak's not here today, but I'm sure you'll be sure to take that proclamation over to him.
Of course, he is surrounded by road construction on all fronts. So
Right.
there's part of me that wonders if he'll show up here in a second, but no, it was really good, and I think it was a very good event.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kaywood. Moving on to item 2, resolution to recognize a Roanoke County employee for exemplary service to Roanoke County. Mr. Kaywood, County Administrator.
Yeah, I'm hoping we have Kaylin Spickler somewhere in the audience. Kaylin, come on up. This is a surprise for her because I knew she would be here, so I did not have to arrange this ahead of time, as I often do. And while we loosely kind of consider this an employee of the quarter, it's actually been quite a bit of time since I did this. I think it was the spring, the last time we brought, come on over, Kaylin, you have to get in the center here. Yes, as we were just talking about, our guests from Poland that came and stayed a week, they basically had one task other than accepting the invitation. They booked some flights. Well, once they showed up here, the rest of it was really up to us in the sister cities. And so After I met with the college, the next thing I did, once it looked like they were going to come, is I came back and I said, Kaylin, I have an opportunity for you. You get to organize everything that's going to happen from a Roanoke County perspective. And Kaylin has just done extraordinary work with this. She's literally had hundreds of hours probably into this visit. Very detailed itinerary, everything extremely well coordinated. So she had to work with the college, with the Central Cities groups, with each of the venues. She organized all the transportation, which was provided by our Parks and Rec folks. So just an extremely intricate itinerary. But on top of that, she went to much of this with them. So she was, with them throughout many of their days. And then as things go, there were unplanned stops and unscheduled things they wanted to do, especially a trip to Walmart was one. They really wanted to see a Walmart. And some other things that surprised. Actually, Halloween candy was a big hit. That was another surprise. But that kind of, could throw off the schedule a little bit. So Kaylin just kind of seamlessly made all the things that were going to happen next work throughout the week. And got great feedback from the delegation as they were here about Kaylin's work. And then I received a letter, well, it was actually about 4 a.m. on Friday morning, because, they're 6 hours ahead of us, so it was afternoon for them, I guess. But the mayor, who was part of the delegation, wrote a nice letter thanking us and sister cities, and there's only one county employee mentioned in the letter, and it's Kaylin. So I just think that she went well above the call of duty. She did outstanding work. And without all of that effort, I don't think this would have gone near as well. So I just wanted to present her work to you, and hopefully we can pass a resolution recognizing that she can frame up and hang on her wall.
Okay, thank you. Will the clerk please read the resolution?
Resolution recognizing Kaylin Spickler for her exemplary service to Roanoke County. Whereas the County of Roanoke, Virginia, United States of America, and the city of Opole, Poland began their warm friendship to promote international understanding in 1993 through the Virginia Local Government Management Association. And as communication prospered and the County of Roanoke hosted the delegation from Opole, it was suggested the County of Roanoke and Opole enter into a sister city relationship. And whereas for the last 30 years, the County of Roanoke and Opole have remained in communication to host delegations and exchange students, thus implementing a mutual cultural exchange program. And whereas in the spring of 2024, the County of Roanoke invited a delegation from Opole to visit Roanoke County in October 2024. Whereas the county administrator assigned the critical task of organizing every aspect of the visit to his executive assistant, Kaylin Spickler. And whereas Ms. Spickler immediately began to coordinate with Roanoke Valley sister cities, Roanoke College, and the visiting delegation. And whereas for almost 6 months, Mrs. Spickler made and verified arrangements for accommodations, meals, tours, and transportation. And whereas Ms. Spickler continually sought input from the Board of Supervisors, County Administration, Roanoke Valley sister cities, and the visiting delegation from Opole. And whereas Ms. Spickler spent countless hours with the visiting delegation throughout their time in Roanoke County to ensure every aspect of their visit was executed in a professional and efficient manner. And whereas on October 16, 2024, the county administrator received a letter from the mayor of Opole thanking Roanoke County for our hospitality and specifically recognizing the excellent work of Ms. Spickler. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Roanoke County expresses its deepest appreciation and the appreciation of the citizens of Roanoke County to Kaylin Spickler for her dedicated service to Roanoke County. And further, the Board of Supervisors does express its best wishes for continued success in the future.
Very good. Is there a motion that we adopt this resolution?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to enthusiastically make a motion to adopt this resolution.
I'll second that motion, Madam Vice Chair. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair, I should have made comments when we were first talking about it, but I just wanted to mention a couple things. Kaylin, missed you at our dinner Thursday night with the president and the mayor, but I guess you set such an impression upon them and doing a good job. I mean, you're very professional, energetic, young. You did a great job, and it was, I can't believe they didn't mention my name, because I talked to them about soccer. We talked about the English Premier League and everything else, and so I don't know why they didn't think about that. But anyway, congratulations.
Okay. Anyone
Chairman.
else have a comment?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
So, Kaylin, we just appreciate you so much, and I feel like your star is just beginning to shine, and we look forward to all the great things that you're going to be doing in Roanoke County, and we hope you'll stay with us for a long time. We don't want to lose you because you are really a valued asset to Roanoke County. So thank you for all you did in this event, and look forward to other great things you'll do.
I just want to thank you because all week long at the different events, you were continuously going like the little Energizer bunny. And I don't know how in the world you did it, but the entire time you had a smile on your face and were actually very happy to be there. So thank you for all of the hard work.
And I just want to add to this, like my comment. When I saw the final agenda, I'm like, there's no time for water break. This is going to be challenging. And by Wednesday, they were just beginning to get over jet lag and get used to the time change. And when I told you I'll meet you for lunch after your little visit out in the country there, they walked in and they were ready to eat, and they were very hungry that day, and they enjoyed their meal, but you did a great job. I just would tell you this, if you were leading me, I'd have to call an audible and say, time out, probably before they went to Walmart, maybe earlier in the week, but yeah, everyone was in shape, and you did a great job on that too, and you know what, no good deed goes unpunished, so you'll liable to have to do another arrangement like that for some other event sometime in the future. And so will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mrs. Hooker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes. And so now is the time to ask you, would you like to comment or have anything to say?
Well, first, I just wanted to say thank you very much for the kind words from all of you. I really appreciate it. It was a great week, thanks to the enthusiasm from each of you, but also our county administration and so many departments and staff that made it possible and such a success for the delegation. So it was really a pleasure to represent Roanoke County with this initiative.
Thank you very much, and you did a great job. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. K. Wood and Kaylin to move in front of the board members, take a picture if you'd like.
Do you want to send the picture?
All of you. I want to make sure they were centered. There we go. Good. 1, 2, 3.
There you go. Moving on to item 3, recognition of Deputy Joe Mullins and Officer Justin Hubbard as recipients of awards this past summer at the annual YOVISO Youth of Virginia Speak Out About Traffic Safety Awards. Chair recognizes Sheriff Eric Orange and Sergeant Dan Walter, Special Operations. Welcome.
Sure. Yeah, Justin and Joe. There we go. Good afternoon. My name is Dan Walters. I'm a sergeant with Roanoke County Police, supervising the School Resource Officer Division. I'd like to thank the Board of Supervisors, Mr. Richard Kaywood, and other members of Roanoke County Administration for allowing me to speak here this afternoon. I'm very proud and honored to say that as of today, with assistance from the Virginia Department of Education, the Department of Criminal Justice Services, the Roanoke County Sheriff's Office, Roanoke County Police Department, and the Roanoke County Public School System, we are very proud to say that we have all 27 of our campuses have a uniform presence as far as the School Resource Officer program. We're very, very excited about that. I view my school resource officers as having 3 main jobs. Number 1, obviously a police officer, providing security and safety to our students, staff, administration, and visitors. Number 2, as a teacher, providing life lessons to our youth and educating them, leading them to a successful future. And also as a mentor, a person for our youth and staff to trust in, who can guide them in their moments of need. As important as it is for my officers and the deputies to take on that police officer role, I view the roles of teacher and mentor to be just as important. One of my expectations is for my officers and deputies to develop relationships with our youth, no matter the age, and lead them to a successful, healthy future. These two law enforcement professionals behind me here, Justin and Joe, display this daily. One way in which they do this is by organizing prevention clubs. These clubs, led by our students, provide an opportunity for our youth to lead and promote healthy lifestyle choices in our schools. This includes education on drug and alcohol abuse, anti-bullying initiatives, social media safety, safe driving habits, mental health awareness, and many, many other initiatives. One Virginia statewide organization our students have joined in helping to promote safe driving habits is an organization called YOVSO, Youth of Virginia Speak Out About Traffic Safety. This past summer, YOVSO held their annual awards banquet in which both William Byrd Middle School and Cave Spring Middle School were recognized for their efforts in organizing prevention clubs and spreading information about safe driving methods. I'll start with William Byrd, Joe over here. During the 2023-2024 school year, Deputy Mullins, who is the assigned SRO at the school, Mr. Evan Knoll, the school principal, and Ms. Leslie Jordan, school counselor, along with many students, organized what's called the Terrier Safety Squad. YOVSO recognized the Terrier Safety Squad for their efforts and engagement with the students at William Byrd Middle and High School. They were awarded the YOVSO New Middle School Club of the Year for the entire state of Virginia. Pretty remarkable. This award recognizes us excellence in student leadership and club development, community outreach, engagement of the student body, and effectiveness of programming and participation in YOVSO campaigns and retreats. I also like to recognize Cave Spring Middle School. To my left here is Officer Justin Hubbard. He's the assigned SRO there. Several years ago, when Justin first took on the role of SRO at Cave Spring, he created a prevention club called Squire's Aid. This prevention club, led by students Emery Mitchum, Taylor Gruss, Tinley Gruss, Delaney Kirchner, and Coulter Chrisley, continues to be successful even into this year, 2024-2025 school year. As with the Terrier Safety Squad, Squire's Aid was recognized by YOVSO and awarded the YOVSO Middle School Club of the Year for the entire state of Virginia. This award goes to the school who sets the standard of best practices in peer-led youth traffic safety programs, community and school engagement, effective program development, and student leadership. Additionally, Officer Justin Hubbard was recognized by YOVSO and awarded the YOVSO Middle School SRO of the Year for the state of Virginia. Pretty remarkable again. This award recognizes one middle school law enforcement professional for their continuous and outstanding support as an SRO to their school and for providing guidance to the school's traffic safety club. I couldn't be prouder of both of these individuals. They're exactly what I want them to do on a daily basis. As school resource officers, we pride ourselves on the relationships we develop with our youth, their families, our teachers, and school admin. I am happy to say, without a doubt, in conjunction with the Roanoke County Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Orange, we have the best school resource officer division in the state of Virginia, if not the country, at all levels of education. So I'd like to give Joe and Justin a chance to speak, but also Sheriff Orange, please, by all means.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you all for this opportunity to be here today, and thank you for taking the time to recognize these two excellent law enforcement professionals. And Sergeant Walters, those were phenomenal comments. I don't know if I can do a lot to add to what he's already done. One of the things I'd like to point out, as you look around this room, you see the number of law enforcement professionals and uniformed personnel in the room today in support of that. And I think that shows you the pride that they take in this program. I personally have a heart for the School Resource Officer Program, as you all well know. And the work that these men and women do on a daily basis is extremely important. Not just limiting it to the safety and security aspect, while that is of the utmost importance, the relationships that they build in the schools is of extreme importance as well. A lot of times in our line of work, we often see people in their darkest hour and their worst times. And so for them to have the opportunity to build relationships outside of that sort of dark cloud, to build relationships with young men and women throughout the community, as well as school faculty and staff, is phenomenal. It's a great opportunity for them. I, along with members of staff, had the opportunity to go up in late summer to Harrisonburg to see them receive these awards. And their interaction there with the students and the staff was a great sight to see. The appreciation that was expressed there is much like what you see here today. They do a fantastic job. But the work that they do isn't just limited to what they do Monday through Friday as a school resource officer. They do a lot far beyond that, from working ball games to being present for outreach events to supporting the staff and students in their schools and being a part of the community. An example of that is Deputy Joe Mullins. At the end of the school day, he takes off the SRO hat and he puts on the coach's hat. And he dedicates his own time to coach young men on the field at William Byrd Middle School and to help develop them and to build a culture there of camaraderie and sportsmanship. And so I'd like to applaud both of these gentlemen for the great work that they do. So if you all would join me, just giving them a round of applause, please.
Thank you. At this time, does any board members wish to comment? Deputy Mullins, you got something you want to say? Go ahead. I was going to get to that, but
well, yes and no. I could have got away with it if you would let me know. Chairman and boards member, good afternoon. Thank you for having us. I appreciate all the kind words from Sergeant Walters and Sheriff Orange. We appreciate it. Like they said, this club is student-based, it's student-led. So we do appreciate the kids' willingness to include everybody in school and try to keep everybody safe on and off the road. We know that a lot of middle schoolers like to ride bikes, especially in town of Vinton where it's small, where we have a bunch of crosswalks. So we want everybody to be safe and come home safe to their family. So we try to spread that word. We got started a little late with the clubs. Mr. Knoll, principal at William Byrd Middle, decided that he was going to have clubs for the entire school, so it took a while to get the kids all signed up and get them assigned to clubs. We had roughly about 20 kids sign up, which was a lot. That was probably the max limit for what they allowed. So we got started in January. We had our first club day, and we decided to look forward to February, where we ran a campaign called Love Clicks. It was geared around people buckling up for those that they cared for. So what we did was we cut out different colored hearts, and at each lunch, we had 3 lunches. We had a banner and hearts for them to sign and put who they buckle up for and who they care for, and who they want to come home to. Then fast forward around April, we had a Arrive Alive campaign, which again is really based off of like kids at high school going to prom. But again, we work on passenger safety, pedestrian safety, and bike safety. So we ran a contest. It was decorate your door. We had a few teachers decorate. Winning door would get a Chick-fil-A lunch. So what was super awesome was our fax group ended up winning that. Took a picture and they were super excited to get that lunch. But we have a lot of great things ahead this year. We're started on time. We got a bunch of projects ahead that we kind of have like a friendly competition with Case Spring Middle. So I don't want to get into those quite yet. But I appreciate your time. And again, I appreciate the kids' willingness to, their willingness to care and keep everybody safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hear they really love you over there at Byrd, so I don't think you're going anywhere for a while, I hope. And at this time, Officer Hubbard, welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me and recognizing Squire's Aid. So Deputy Mullen kind of hit it on the head that it's a student-led organization, and I think I have some students that would like to say a few things.
Okay, welcome.
Hi, I'm Taylor Gruce, and I was the former president for 2 years of Squire's Aid at the middle school, my 7th and 8th grade year. And so for Squire's Aid, we focused on traffic safety along with youth mental health and drug and alcohol abuse prevention. And we couldn't have done it without Officer Hubbard. I know he doesn't like to take all the credit, but he really should. He was one of my favorite people at the middle school. He was just always someone you could go to, someone that ignited my passion for leadership and drug and alcohol abuse at the middle school. And he's a great guy, and him winning SRO of the year is not something I was surprised about at all. And so I just think he deserves a lot of congratulations on that, even though he won't be up here to say that about himself. But thank you, Officer Hubbard.
Hi, I'm Delaney Kirchner, and I'm the Vice President of Squire's Aid. Officer Hubbard is an amazing person, and I'm so happy that he got Middle School SRO of the Year. Officer Hubbard can see everything through the students' eyes, and he's always a great person to talk to. He listens to all the students' thoughts, ideas, and suggestions. We're so lucky to have Officer Hubbard at our school with us. Hi, my name is Tinley Groos, and I am a 7th grader and one of the Squires Aid presidents. Today, I'm going to be talking about why Officer Hubbard deserved SRO of the Year. This is my 2nd year of Squires Aid, and Officer Hubbard is dedicated, encouraging, and passionate. He builds a bond with tons of students, and people look forward to seeing him throughout the day, including myself. I am very happy that Officer Hubbard was chosen for this award. Cave Spring Middle School is very lucky to have him. I want to thank Officer Hubbard for everything. Thank you.
Did not pay any.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, I'm Cameron Johnson, and I'm also president of Squires Aid. This is my 2nd year with Officer Hubbard. Officer Hubbard always does things in fun and effective ways. He ensures that everyone in our club is having fun while learning about safety. He not only spreads safety to our club, but to our whole school. Officer Hubbard knows and cares for so many of us students. He definitely is the SRO our school needs. Everyone always enjoys seeing him, and I know that everyone always loves Officer Hubbard. Thank you. Hi, my name is Libby Sleep, and I'm the secretary of Squires Aid. This is my 2nd year in Squires Aid and my 2nd year with Officer Hubbard. I feel very lucky to have such a great SRO at Cave Spring Middle School. Everyone always enjoys being around him because he relates to all the students in a personal way, which makes everyone feel connected to him. I always enjoy working with him for Squires Aid. I'm not surprised at all Officer Hubbard has received this award. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. That's very impressive. Very impressive. To get up in front of an audience and speak, and guess what? You get to go home and see yourself on TV on Thursday night at 7, and then Sunday afternoon you can put on some popcorn and show everybody in the family. Y'all did a super job. Let's give them a round of applause. I'm telling you. Congratulations. What an honor. And at this time, I'm going to ask the board if y'all have any comments.
Yeah, I'll start down here first, but boy, I hate to follow that. That was excellent. To officer and deputy, you know, touching kids and helping them right now understand those important parts of life like safety and respect, and these clubs seem to be a good start for them. And you know, thank you for your involvement and being in their lives and being a friend with them. So thank you. Congratulations.
Mr. Chairman. So I just want to echo that same sentiment, and we've heard so much about you all already and just heard fantastic testimony also, and just want to say thank you truly for all the work that you have done and what you continue to do, and participating in these after-school sports also is just such a critical issue in really connecting, and obviously that hasn't been a problem for you either. You've got quite the fan club, but thank you so much for what you do. It's so important. Thank you.
Well, I actually am going to reach out here to both of you because I have ties to both communities. Of course, I'm Benton Magisterial District. My kids all went to William Byrd, and I have to tell you, anytime I happen to be over at William Byrd for any reason, I don't think you ever eat anything. You're always there. So thank you for the personal touch that you give to William Byrd and taking care of our students. And then I have a son that actually works at Cave Spring High School, and I love that community just as well. And I think the Groose kids, I see their parents through there all the time when I'm over there as well. So I was excited to see both of y'all here too. But thank you too for all the work that you put in and keeping our kids safe. But not only that, the personal touch that you give them. So thank you again, and congratulations on both your awards.
And I'll just add to this that when I was your age, actually when I was younger in the 6th grade, 5th and 6th grade, I was a sergeant and then later lieutenant and then captain of the safety patrols, which was sponsored by AAA in conjunction with the local police department. So, you know, what you folks are doing is going to pay dividends one day. You're going to be leaders in the community doing something, and I just want you to know you made my day. But I will tell you congratulations too, because of these great leaders that went and honor the state of Virginia honoree. How great. And your award as well. Keep up the great work. Come on back again next year. Let's do it 2 years in a row. Yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you. And don't nobody go anywhere, and young people stay with us. Let's get a picture up here in front of the dais, if you will.
Maybe we should stand up and Nice. One, two, three.
Let's give one with Sheriff Orange in it too, and Dan, you come on up as well, and Chief, absolutely.
One, two, three.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations again.
Okay, at this time, where am I? Let's move on to item 4 on our agenda. Invite resolution congratulating Lindsay Arnold for 50 years of service with the Cave Spring Rescue Squad. Chair recognizes Logan Spencer, Volunteer Chief, Cave Spring Rescue Squad. If you'd please come forward at this time.
So today we're acknowledging a truly remarkable milestone. Lindsay Arnold, he's got 50 years of dedicated service to Cave Spring Rescue Squad and the community we serve. This extraordinary achievement is not only a testament to his unwavering dedication, loyalty, and passion for the agency, but one that has never been reached by any other member. Over the past 5 decades, Lindsay has not only been a cornerstone for our agency, but also a source of knowledge for us all. If you have a question about anything from the business side of the agency to a mechanical issue with the truck, Lindsay's the person who would have the answer. Over the years, he served as the chief, president, vice president, captain, treasurer, and most recently serves as our equipment lieutenant, and is always willing to come out and diagnose and repair the trucks at all hours of the day so we can continue to provide EMS services uninterrupted. Through every challenge and triumph, Lindsay has demonstrated resilience, professionalism, and a commitment to excellence that is nothing short of inspiring. His knowledge and experience has guided countless members through difficult professional and personal situations. As we honor Lindsay today, let us reflect on the countless memories, lessons, and friendships forged over the last 50 years. So thank you, Lindsay, for your dedication and for being an integral part in our agency's journey.
At this time, we'd like to present this resolution, and I'm going to ask the clerk to read the resolution.
Resolution congratulating Lindsay Arnold with the Cave Spring Rescue Squad for his 50 years of service to the Cave Spring community. Whereas there is one name that seems to be synonymous with Cave Spring Rescue Squad, and that is Lindsay Arnold. When previous members are hired by other agencies in the area, they run across former members of Cave Spring Rescue Squad. They frequently ask if Lindsay still runs. Whereas Lindsay first became interested in Cave Spring Rescue Squad when he was dating his future wife, Vicki, who he married in 1972. She told him about the good things the squad did, including the training and fundraising. Lindsay joined the organization on March 6, 1973. And whereas Lindsay took an advanced first aid course in 1973 and completed his EMT in 1974, he took the second EMT cardiac tech course offered in Roanoke in 1977 and transitioned to an EMT intermediate in 1998. And whereas Lindsay served as equipment lieutenant from 1975 through 1982, where he was responsible for the squad's fleet of vehicles. He served as chief of the squad from 1982 to 1987. In 1987, he has served as equipment lieutenant, where he continues to be responsible for the squad's fleet of vehicles. And whereas Lindsay is a professional mechanic by trade who has extensive experience repairing and maintaining both gas and diesel cars and trucks, he frequently performs repairs to the squad's vehicles himself. It's common knowledge around the station that if a piece of equipment breaks, you need to call Lindsay so he can fix it. And whereas Lindsay has been deeply involved with the squad's vehicle replacement committee since 1975, he has been a major contributor to the design, selection, and purchase of numerous squad vehicles through the years. Lindsay has used his deep knowledge of emergency vehicles to assist other agencies with vehicle challenges, as he has participated in several Roanoke County Fire and Rescue Vehicle Selection Committees through the years. And whereas Lindsay's vast experience has also allowed him to serve on the Roanoke County Fire and Rescue Department Accident Review Board, where he frequently provides feedback on ways that safety can be improved. And whereas Lindsay has always set a positive example for others throughout his humble personality, strong work ethic, passion for helping others, and love for Cave Spring Rescue Squad, Lindsay can always be counted on to show up for his duty shift and very seldom needs someone else to cover for him. And whereas Lindsay is a great historian and advisor, he freely shares why certain actions were taken historically or shares things that have worked well and those that haven't been as successful. He is open to new ideas while attempting to prevent the same mistake twice. And whereas Lindsay has helped grow several generations of EMS providers, he has helped train probationary members, assisted with EMT training classes, precepted AIC candidates, and spent countless hours in the cab of vehicles trying to teach new drivers. We even have had junior members who are children of former junior members. Whereas Lindsay has touched the lives of and influenced many squad members to move on to serve in the military or work professionally as firefighters, paramedics, nurses, physicians, dentists, and leaders in their field. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Roanoke County expresses its deepest appreciation and the appreciation of the citizens of Roanoke County to Lindsay Arnold for his dedicated service to the Cave Spring community in Roanoke County. Further, the Board of Supervisors does express its best wishes for continued success in the future.
What an honor. Congratulations. Yes, indeed. Hold on to that just a second. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
Yes. I make the motion.
Is
And
there
I'll
a second? Okay. Is there any discussion on this motion? I'll just tell you, this is quite an honor. I don't know many people who've been involved 50 years in an organization volunteer-wise, much less employment-wise. So congratulations. Yes, indeed. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mrs. Hooker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes. Any board members want to comment?
Yeah, congratulations, Mr. Arnold, and golly, so if I have something wrong with my vehicle, can I just give you a holler? You know, the vehicles back in the 70s are different from the vehicles today, so you got to know your computers and all that good stuff to work with electronically, but what a great knack, a gift that God gave you to figure out stuff like that mechanically and fix it. Your heart is in the right place. You know, Godspeed with what you do now. Thank you.
Ms. Hooker.
So I also just want to say thank you so much. I mean, it's a congratulations that you did it for so long, but we're the winners. I mean, you really blessed this community for a long period of time. So we're so appreciative for your longevity, your work, and it's really a dying art for people who give back to the community like that. So thank you so much for your service, and God bless.
Thank you so much. 50 years is a very long time, and I'm hoping this does not mean you're retiring, just in case I were to need you when I'm over in Cave Spring.
You're not going anywhere, are you?
But congratulations and thank you again. No one understands the amount of hours put in until you've actually done it. So again, that's a huge thank you for the service.
Would you like to say a few words, Lindsay?
This is totally unexpected. I was somewhat misled is the reason I was to be here tonight. But it was a great honor, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
You didn't know why you were coming here today, did you?
Well, I was told something, but it wasn't.
Oh, okay. Well, it worked. At this time, let's have a picture in front of with the board members.
He thought he was coming to resuscitate us all.
Should we stand up again? I think maybe we should.
Yeah, stand on up there.
Amy?
open this up so you can put that in front of you there. Okay. You're going to put this on the front page now, aren't you?
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, thank you.
Amy, he's got
Congratulations. Appreciate that. Okay, before we move on to item D, briefings, we're going to call an audible at this time. I think that President Shushak from Roanoke College is in the audience. If you'd come forward with Mr. Kaywood for a picture, we'd appreciate that. That traffic on 419 is kind of busy sometimes, isn't it?
Construction right now between 81 and Main Street.
It's true.
But the board passed this resolution honoring you and Roanoke College and just thanking you for all the partnership with the polling. But we missed the opportunity to get a picture, so we normally do that up here. If you would like to join us in front of the board.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Amy will, she tells us exactly what to do. It all works out.
Thank you. Appreciate your hospitality.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you again for all your help and partnership. Making our visit fantastic.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to item D, briefings. Number 1 is briefing on the Route 460 corridor improvements. The chair recognizes and welcomes Ken King, VDOT Salem District Engineer. Mr. King.
Thank you, Chairman North and members of the board. It's certainly my pleasure to be here. I am Kenneth King with the Virginia Department of Transportation Salem District and serves Roanoke County and the other 11 counties that make up our 12-county district. Exciting activities taking place on the Route 460 corridor, and look forward to talking about those. Many of these activities began with a series of studies in the 2019-2020 kind of time frame along the 460 corridor. It's about 5 miles in length with 36 intersections and median crossovers being a part of that overall study, really from Williamson Road all the way out to the Cloverdale Road, Route 220 alternate intersection. There also was a study at the interchange of 581 and Orange Avenue, so really the entire corridor. 11 projects resulted in terms of being funded as a part of these study activities, totaling more than $100 million of investment that is planned to take place. Those 11 studies have been organized into really 3 main segments of implementation. The green to the far right is the reason that I'm here. That's the Roanoke County portion from West Ruetan to Avery Row, and we'll get into a good bit of detail of those. The Hickory Woods to Blue Hills in the city, that's the center segment there, and then finally the purple segment, which is closer back to that 581 interchange all the way through to Gus Nix. In addition to these 3 main, and when I say these segments, those will be the way the contracts will be packaged. In addition to those 3 main contracts, there are some small safety-funded projects that will take place right at the interchange area of 581. So a lot of investment taking place over the years to come here. But specifically, the section of Roanoke County, as I mentioned, there are 3 main improvement types that are taking place. And I know many of you attended the public hearing that took place in August of this year and have already seen some of these things in detail, but we'll go over those briefly. It is not a widening of the road, but it is an effort to improve the capacity and efficiency of the roadway as well as the safety and the service to the motorists that use this corridor. The 3 improvement types, the blue dot shown to the left of the screen there is a through cut. And we've talked about that a little bit with the 419 in Starkey when I was last with you. So we'll touch on that briefly. A restricted a restricted crossing U-turn, an R-cut intersection improvement. We'll go over that. And then one that's pretty, we don't do a lot of, it's pretty unique. It's a displaced left turn intersection improvement at Route 220 alternate. We'll talk just a little bit about that as well. So first we'll be here at 460 in West Ruetan. Certainly to the top of the screen is the ever busy Chick-fil-A, and to the bottom of that is the CVS, and the pie that's to the left, you may recall, we use that quite a bit to show that the phases that are a part of the traffic signal operation. The first or main phase is the through movements on Route 460, shown in blue there, that gets the majority of the time. And then you get the left turns off of 460 into the side streets, shown in purple. Eventually, the one side of the street going with the yellow shown here, and then lastly, the movements taking place from West Ruetan. So that's the four-phase operation. What's being proposed for this intersection is shown here in the grayscale. It's really a configuration of medians to try to help eliminate, again, the through movement from the side streets. It is a very low volume movement. It's actually less than 1% of the traffic. I think that last time that it was counted, it was 4 vehicles in the peak hour that actually made that through movement. So the major movements are still being served with the 460, both east and west. Then you have the 460 left turns to the side streets, and then eventually the left turns from the side streets onto 460 taking place at the same time, rather than one side going and then the other side going. In this example, you're seeing and I've touched on many of these issues. I just mentioned the less than 1% of the peak traffic. Many of these bullets we've left on here for those that may want to look at this presentation later and provide a little bit more explanation as to what's there, but I'll jump forward. In the case of how vehicles make a through movement, they would make a right-hand turn, we have a graphic that'll show that here in just a minute. You makes a right-hand turn, goes down and cuts across. But this is the change in the phases of the signal that we've talked about before. In this case, we're showing all of that time being applied back to the through movements on 460, and that certainly could be the case. As traffic volumes shift, you also have the ability to shift some of that time, and it may be that you need to better serve one of the side streets, or you may need to better serve the left turn off 460, but you've gained time that you're able to add. Rather than serving such a small movement, only 4 vehicles or less than 1%, if you're able to use that turn to serve a lot higher demand of traffic, then you're improving the overall flow of traffic, increasing that capacity. And in this case, we're increasing that green time equates to a 15 to 20% increase overall. The R-cut situation will illustrate the turning maneuver. I mentioned just a moment ago that to go straight across from CVS over to West Ruetan, you'd make that right turn, go down and make a U-turn. The same thing happens here with the restricted crossing U-turn maneuver. You're probably familiar with this intersection at Bonsack and East Ruetan and Carson. There's a lot that goes on here. Very easy to maneuver in light traffic times. Gets a lot more complicated in heavier traffic times. You can make from Bonsack to try to go straight across to East Ruetan in light traffic. You could probably make that as we call a 2-stage maneuver. You get to the median, then find another gap, and go the rest of the way. It starts to get complicated when you get a lot of traffic, because you'll have people that'll pull up in the left turn lanes, and now you've got people blocking one another's sight distance, and that's part of what generates a lot of the crashes that do occur at this location, is some of those challenges. In this case, the gray represents what would be concrete islands placed to help continue to allow the movements of left turns off of 460 onto the side streets, but it's redirecting that through movement and the left turn. In those cases, they would be served by making a right-hand turn and going down and using a dedicated turn lane, so they're able to get out of the flow of traffic, wait for a gap in just one direction. And you'd be surprised how much easier that is. And I know me as a driver, I've done this for years, even without those concrete medians there. I know in certain times of day, if it's light traffic, I'll wait and find the gap. But in heavier traffic, I know you're so much better off to find a gap in one direction, go down, make that U-turn, and you can clear the area much safer and much more quickly. So these islands simply make that a restriction that requires every motorist to make a maneuver of that type. In the other direction, you see in the red, they're going down to the U-turn at Country Corner, which also has a dedicated turn lane for them to find that gap and make that maneuver, and either turn right on East Ruetan or go back into downtown. So that's the R-cut arrangement. And again, it redirects those side street left turns. The U-turn locations with turn lanes that are provided in the median certainly works to make sure that that is a safe maneuver. And then the main intersection and U-turn intersection can be signalized or unsignalized. We don't have a lot of, I don't know if we have any signalized arc cuts in this area, but certainly these are improvements that can be signalized if the left turns off of 460 get so heavy that they, excuse me, that they need to be. The benefits of through cuts and arc cuts I've touched on: improved safety, significant improvement in the efficiency as it's redirecting those lower volume movements and those movements that actually have a lot of delay. If you're going to sit there and wait to make a left turn, you're going to have to wait a good while to find an adequate gap in both directions, and that backs up traffic on the side street, which impacts efficiency. Then people start to feel pressured that they're, somebody behind them is probably honking a horn at some point, and then they make a bad decision in terms of how to come out. So there's certainly a safety implication. And it's very, very cost effective, these redirection of those minor movements, in terms of you're making a significant efficiency improvement without having to go through the cost of widening or adding through lanes, which is much more impactful to the adjoining properties, as well as much more impactful in terms of the budget necessary to do it. So the last one, which I said is probably the more unique, and this one from a bird's eye view or from an airplane view, is a lot going on the screen. So it is, it again is it's a change in the configuration that allows one of the phases of the signal to be removed. It increases the capacity, reduces the number of stops, which improves safety, and we'll go through these movements just one at a time. So the movements on 460 continue to take place unchanged. They, continue to go through in the normal fashion. The maneuvers of the right turn are largely the same. However, you could be stopped at Kingsman there, as we have added a signal to aid in the maneuvers there at Kingsman. But by and large, you're making that right turn very much like you do today. Same case in the southbound Route 220 alternate down to 460. You're doing that much the same. Today, there's a yield condition. And there's a fair number of rear-end collisions that get involved with someone wanting to go and then deciding to stop, and the car behind them doesn't pick up on that cue quickly enough and ends up rear-ending them. So we actually have a pretty high number. It's one of our high crash locations. Signalizing that will certainly improve the safety and reduce the number of rear-end collisions at this particular maneuver. Lastly, the left turns, they take place a little bit different. This is very similar to the Elm Avenue divergent diamond that you may be familiar with. And I will say, from a bird's eye view, this is pretty complex, but I can tell you I've had family members and friends go through that interchange and not even realize that they crossed over on the other side of the road. Because behind the driver's wheel, it's much more intuitive of the signals guide you on your path, and it doesn't feel unnatural to simply travel in the path that the intersection has laid out for you. I'll touch on that a little bit more. But this left turn, crossing that left turn over so that it can be made in a slightly offset condition, allows this other left turn to be made, and that I'll illustrate, those can take place at the same time. So the way that is phased today is we have 460 maneuvers that take place. Then we have the left turn off of 460 onto 220 alternate. Then you have the left turn southbound from 220. So you have three phases of that signal represented by the three sections of the pie chart here. In the future, the way that would work is you would have the 460 maneuvers, and then in the next maneuver, all the turning traffic can occur at the same time. So we would have the right turns coming off of 220 alternate south, the left turn of 460 turning north onto 220, and then the 220 south headed eastbound. Since none of those are creating a conflict in their path, all of those maneuvers can occur simultaneously, taking that signal from a three-phase down to a two, which again makes for a significant improvement in its efficiency, reducing the number of stops. That's when there's somebody in front of you stopping, so that improves the overall safety. So the capacity improvement here, the increase for westbound Route 460 is 36%, and then the increased for left turns on and off 220 alternate is like 30%. One of the big items, you may recall, Dr. Smoot had the opportunity to apply some priority transportation funds to some key locations within the Salem district. This is one of those locations he chose to direct those funds. We don't have a lot of money that comes to the CTB members to be able to do that. Occasionally, this is excess funds that flow to that priority transportation fund. Most of the projects, as you know, go through that smart scale competitive process, but this is one of those times where Dr. Smoot was able to identify this because at the time he was serving on the Go Virginia. He was leading that effort, and as you know, that's Lynchburg, Roanoke, and the New River Valley, and it's certainly a dynamic economic activity that takes place between all of those. And if you talk to folks from Lynchburg, they'll tell you that 460 is their interstate, and this is their major connection to Interstate 81 through this intersection. And so this capacity improvement is very much very much an improvement for the future in terms of preserving that capacity for the long-term viability and that connectivity of Lynchburg to Roanoke and on to the New River Valley, Virginia Tech, and all the exciting things that are taking place in this larger region. So that capacity improvement is significant. This is one of the highest crash locations, and that rear-end collision certainly will be improved by putting that under signal control. So everybody gets green light, everybody knows what to do, and everybody goes at the same time. You don't have the indecision that takes place. I mentioned how this intersection from an airplane view is pretty complicated looking, but from a cockpit view or from the dash of a driver's seat of a car is pretty understandable. And I would encourage you, this was at the public hearing, so you may have had a chance to see it there. But if not, it is on our VDOT project website. You can go there and actually see a simulated drive through the intersection in every direction that you could potentially travel through that intersection. And you'll see how intuitive and natural the arrangement is made by way of the signals, the signs, the concrete islands are all set up to guide you in what feels very, very natural. It's not something you have to think about. I gotta think about making this maneuver differently. It really pretty much guides you to that. So those are the 4 types of improvements that are taking place here on the far eastern segment of this corridor. A significant point, though, is these same configurations are going to take place throughout the entire 3 segments, the entire corridor. So this little bit of inconvenience, and it will be. You can't say that it won't be a little bit more inconvenient for somebody wanting to go from Chick-fil-A to the CVS, from West Rueton across. It's going to be, making the right, going down, making a U-turn. Okay, that's a little bit of inconvenience, but if you're willing to apply a little bit of inconvenience at this one location, but then we're able to do that all across the corridor, then each of those benefits through efficiency gains, safety improvements, that's going to apply for your entire commute of any time you're headed down the corridor in either direction, because these strategies are not a strategy for one location. They're a strategy that's being applied across the entire corridor. So we'll talk a little bit about what that means in terms of a corridor benefit. The westbound movement to downtown in the AM that's the worst. That's our AM peak period move, and the converse in the PM period is coming eastbound out of downtown. So a real quick kind of guidance here on distance and time. This is a corridor travel time illustration. So this is just an example. If you were lucky enough to hit the green at any of the lights along the corridor, you basically are able to go down the corridor at the speed limit, and that's in very light traffic. With all the lights on the main line on green, you're able to do that. But unfortunately, that oftentimes does not happen, and what you'll see is you get stopped at the light, and then you're able to finally get the green to continue on the light and go further. So if you get caught at that red light, that starts to generate what we see delay. So when we look at a travel time run over this distance time kind of configuration, horizontal movements represent delay. So I'll show you a couple of graphics here. This is the westbound movement recently, on September of this year, and you can see that the first place you encountered a delay is at the West Rueton Valley Gateway, and then when you got to Gus Nix, from Gus Nix all the way through to Williamson, this is bumper-to-bumper congestion. There's not one single horizontal movement, although you can pick out some of them where traffic comes to a complete stop. But when you see this type of feathered out and changed trajectory of that line, you're just running into spillback congestion from all the signals. So the ideal condition of an 8-minute trip takes you more like double that time because of the travel conditions. In the eastbound, we have a similar. This is going from 581 out to 220 alternate. You run into your bumper-to-bumper traffic kind of from Hollins all the way through to Gus Nix. Then you get a section of pretty good free-flowing traffic until, again, you run into the signal delay there at West Rueton Valley Gateway. Not quite double, but still close to being double what would be an ideal trip. Now, I will say, one of the things we learned, and I think many of you have commented, or I know Chairman North, you've made comments, about the improvement of the flow of traffic on 220 since, say, 2019, when we did a lot of this study work. In 2019, the travel times were in the neighborhood of 21 and 23 minutes for the 2 directions shown there. So it was actually a longer, heavier trip with more delay. In 2024, we are significantly improved. So the question is, what's caused that? So 3 main things. One, 2020 was our year that COVID hit. And of course, I'll show you a graphic that shows the significant drop in traffic volume. And even though that traffic volume has come back, it's come back a little different. It's not completely back. The other significant thing that took place, Williamson Road is one of the most challenging intersections we've got on the corridor, and the Sheets location there generating all the maneuvers that it pumps in. That created more challenges there than it does at King Street, where it's been relocated to. So that relocation, it shifted some problem areas, but from a corridor perspective overall, it actually makes it a little bit more efficient along Orange Avenue. It creates less of a problem at King than what it was creating at Williamson. And then lastly, we have made some technology improvements that we've got better coordination between the City of Roanoke signals and the Roanoke County signals between the two different agencies of VDOT and the City of Roanoke. So we're actually seeing simply just better timing and flow of traffic signalization. And this shows this volume trend. The 2019, as you can see, is way up there at the peak. Then we drop way down in 2020, and we come back in 21, 22, 23. These are permanent count stations that capture the average annual daily traffic, and they're recorded each year. We haven't quite finished 2024, but you can see the projected place where that's likely to be. So somewhere in either 2025, 2026, we will be back to the 2019 kind of demands, and we'll be back to similar 2019 kind of travel times and delays. So this is representing this 2019 and some of the representation there. I'll show you that we gained sort of 7 years, because what we're doing in these two charts is we're showing you that the 2019 travel times are going to be very close to that by the time we get to 2026. So if we do nothing, then it'll be just like it was in 2019, approximately. Now, if you look at a projection over, this shows a 21-year period, but a little more than 20 years, you'll see what that delay grows to. So it goes from a 21-minute delay to a 31 or 30-minute delay, depending upon which direction you're going, in 2047. That's if we don't do anything. If we apply the improvements that we've talked about along the three segments, then what happens is that that delay is reduced. And if you look to the far right, the most extreme of that being what's that travel time in 2047? Well, by the time we get to 2047, we're projecting under a growth of about 1.6% per year, which is is what we're seeing now. As we know, we've got a lot of exciting things taking place along 460. We've got multifamily developments. We've got the Amazon operations and things of that nature that certainly may cause that growth rate to be higher. But right now, this is a projection of what seems to be the trend, which show that we're able to, with the improvements, hold the travel time very similar to what we were experiencing in 2019. And that's, of course, a good ways out, more than 2 decades away. So a 10-minute travel time savings overall from the enhancements being made. So that little bit of inconvenience I talked about going from West Ruetan over to the CVS has the potential to reduce your commute into downtown, if you happen to be working there, by 10 minutes. I'd say that's a really good trade-off in terms of overall improvements. So these improvements along the corridor, some of the same improvements we talked about. The blue dots here are the through cuts. The green are the R cuts. We have only the one displaced left, and then there's channelized left, which is very similar to that R cut improvement. It really helps channelize and direct maneuvers. There's some new signal enhancements and things of that nature along the corridor. The purpose of this graphic is to show that these strategies of not necessarily widening additional lane in each direction, but being strategic about how we try to make good use of our signal time and our maneuvers to make them high capacity, safe maneuvers are being applied along the whole corridor. So it's sort of the one for all and all for one benefits, if you will, by putting up with perhaps some inconveniences along the way. So the summary overall, the improvements at each intersection have a cumulative effect on the overall travel time along 460 of approximately 10 minutes over that 21-year growth period. And those improvements will increase that intersection safety by reducing angle, rear end, side swipe conditions. I didn't spend a lot of time talking about pedestrian accommodations. Do you remember the West Ruetan through cut had some dotted lines going across the page? And you remember at Starkey, we went through those in detail, showing how those pedestrians can move while the side street left turns are moving. So we're able to serve a protected movement for pedestrians while we're also serving vehicular traffic. So we're not making everyone stop while a pedestrian crosses the street. And that's a real efficiency gain as well, and a higher safety service to the pedestrians that happen to be along the corridor. Lastly, preserving that capacity for future growth and opportunity, and whatever that might be that this board will make decisions on well into the future. whether it's opportunities for additional development, redevelopment. It affords decisions and capability to accommodate the kind of future you want for this community. And so that's the key, is just trying to preserve and make wise. It is a finite amount of capacity, but by configuring it in a way, we're able to make better use of that, and leave that to the decisions of how we want to grow into our future. So with that, hopefully that didn't go too fast. I wanted to be brief. I know you all have had a long meeting, so I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Ken, any comments from anyone on the board?
I do have one real quick question, because I know that this is really good information. I appreciate your good work. Can we go back to the R-cut slide where you were showing how that they have to maneuver? Because what I was noticing was that you have to, when you're turning right, you're having to maneuver to the left lane fairly quickly to be able to make that left. And I was just wondering, is that going to be problematic?
Very good question. And the answer to that will be, making good choices about when you have that best gap in traffic to be able to make that maneuver. Now, obviously, if all you have is a gap in traffic in that shoulder lane and you pull out and your intention is to try to go to the left lane immediately thereafter, then yeah, you're going to have a conflict point that's going to occur there. That is going to be different, of course, during different travel time demands, right? And that is going to change from 2025 to 2047. So that's going to change over time. But surely, what you're going to find is you're going to have the ability to make that maneuver is going to come a lot quicker and a lot easier than finding a gap in both directions to make that complete move.
Understood.
But yes, that's
So when you make the right turn, you have to have a long enough gap to also maneuver to the left lane.
Correct. Or there are situations where these conditions exist in really heavily traveled roadways, and many people, including myself, will decide there's another U-turn down the road just a little further, and I'll make that right turn and not try to go so tightly. If you think about Wanju, when you come up from through Towers and you're trying to make that right to get, I say Wanju, you're coming up, trying to make the right to get onto Wanju right there in that very tight spacing.
Sure.
Anytime I'm doing that in the PM, I try to remember that that's not it's just so tight. It's such a, you'll never find that gap. So what I do is make sure I go all the way up to the intersection at Brandon and then come in from that direction. So it does make you think about strategically, how are you trying to complete your trip to make sure it's safe, efficient, but it's certainly going to be safer and more efficient than what we have there today.
And there will be a learning curve for
I'm
people
sure,
as
yeah.
they are.
And I would bet that in many of these cases where we go and look at these R-cuts, when you talk to folks, there's a lot of people that are already doing that in certain conditions. They're like, yeah, I can do that today. If I'm pulling a truck and a trailer, I don't try to go straight across the street. I go down and make the U-turn. There's a lot of people that already make that maneuver, and others that don't. It is a learning curve, but I think they quickly catch on.
I appreciate your good work. Thank you.
Anyone else?
When will all this take effect?
Well, we are under design project.
June of 2026 for advertisement.
June of 26 for advertisement for the Roanoke County, and I think the city of Roanoke's on a similar schedule. That purple segment closer back to Williamson Road to Gus Nix, that was a little later in the schedule. So a lot of activities. The reason I turned, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of projects going on here. I get those quickly mixed up. So.
Yeah, just, Ken, thanks so much for the update, and I'm just amazed at the engineering that can be thought of, instead of just expanding, but to rethink the signals, the turns, the R-cut. A big thanks to our engineering mind to figure out stuff like that and measure it by time, travel speed. That's a great way to save our community money and our state. Appreciate that.
Thanks, sir.
And Ken, you articulated these changes very well. I was impressed with the pie charts, which show the benefit of improvements. I will tell you that one of my boys had an accident trying to go across one day, and thank goodness no one was hurt. And ever since that day, Dad said, you got to go down to the catch a light at King Street, and Dad does the same thing today, because just crossing over is risky at times, especially during the peak periods. And this was a peak period at night in November, December, when it gets dark early. So lesson learned there for the future. I know people don't like change, but it's going to improve the safety. And if they don't like this particular one, East Ruthven, they can go down at the end of Bonsack Road. If they live off Bonsack Road and they can go out the other way, that will be an option as well. But, you know, I think everyone's going to be okay once they get used to this. The other thing I want to mention is preceding these changes, light sequencing between the city and county have been very beneficial. I know it sometimes I've called Brian Blevins, hey, Brian, can you check to see if the city and our lights are in sequence? Something's not working here. And, you know, he's looked into that. But folks, even with those improvements of light sequencing before these changes, have told me, I don't know what you did on 460, but it's really great now. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, you know, but that's really what it was, I told them, was the light sequencing. One thing that's not addressed here, and I know why, it's because it's in the city, you know, you're coming down 460 going into town, in the morning or in the evening when people are coming from work. Everyone gets down there and they want to turn left onto King Street, and that is the narrowest left turn lane in the city or anywhere I've ever set in. I almost think sometimes I'm going to fall off into the ditch or I'm going to get sideswiped on the right-hand side. I don't know what you know, but I pray that something one day will be done to improve that intersection as well, because that left turn is very,
So you
it's
say
very long.
the left turn on 460 turning onto King Street?
On
Yeah.
King Street,
Yeah,
yeah.
so two things will improve that. One, we're lengthening that turn lane
Good.
slightly.
It needs it.
And then in addition to that, we're removing one of those phases. So
Yeah.
part of what we'll do is we'll be able to put more time,
Right.
green time on that left turn, so that that doesn't back up and then spill back into the through lane on 460. So that's that repurposing that time to those higher demand movements in a way that helps the overall intersection, so.
Sure. And, you know, as I used to do, I would turn out of Hunt Ridge, I'd go down the hill and I'd make a left onto Carson and I'd just go in the back way to my office downtown. Because 460, depending on what time you left, I left after 7:15, I did that, but if I left at 7, I didn't. So you got to touch and go there on that. But I appreciate your explaining this, and I hope the folks at home get the benefit from it Thursday night when we replay this, as well as on Sunday afternoon. In fact, I would tell you, if staff wants to, it wouldn't break my heart to go ahead and put something out on this, because I think that would help people sit down at home in a relaxed environment and watch the benefit charts, especially of the improvements that are going to be realized. The one thing that you and I can't control, because we probably won't be around here in 20, 30 years to see some of this, is if population grows larger than what we have in your model, which could happen, whether it's in the city or the county, that could lend itself to what's the next step for improvements. And as I've said before, this is the only town, Warrington's got a bypass, Warrington, Virginia, Culpeper's had a bypass, Charlottesville had one before anybody. They probably need another bypass around that one day. Livingston, a little town, even had a bypass. They even wrote a song about that. You get to Lynchburg and it bypasses. You get to Bedford, I guess you could call that a bypass, but we don't have much of a bypass. And when Blue Ridge Parkway is closed, I can tell the difference in the morning, because all those folks that jump on the Parkway are on 460 with the rest of us. So it's a great, efficient solution to what would otherwise would have been a very costly proposition with property acquisition, business acquisitions, to put a third lane.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have maybe as much benefit as this, plus it's very disruptive. And if it's anywhere close to the cost per mile as I-81, nobody wants to see that cost, because there's only finite dollars when it comes to transportation.
You know, to that very point, one of the real demanding points is when you come from 581 and you're headed toward Gus Nix, you know, you have 3 lanes headed in that eastbound direction, and there's a lane worth of volume that actually turns right at Gus Nix. So I do think at some future point, you know, the widening of that lane to get up to Gus Nix so you can serve that pretty heavy right turn move for those that go into Benton and points off on Route 24. That's probably down the road. You know, it's going to be a real operational enhancement. Obviously, multimodalism is a big item that the county and the city and the Metropolitan Planning Organization continues to support. But you're right, at some point of growth and future, it'll once again catch up with us. But we'll be looking to nip and tuck and find those strategic improvements all along the way, I'm sure.
And with the smart scale rules of engagement, I noticed, I was just reading an email a minute ago, that I think the number of applications for smart scale funding are lower than they were the last round. So probably because of some of the enhancements and changes to the whole process.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Chairman
thank
North, I
you.
would say those that would want to queue in and look at this, I certainly encourage folks to go to that project page where that visualization
Yes,
tool is,
yes.
and other information that's there that really helps.
Mr.
inform
Chairman,
us.
could I belabor with just one more quick
Sure.
question? So you mentioned light sequencing and all of this, and I just totally, and apart from this project, but in western Roanoke County and Salem, I would love to see some light sequencing there. It's very problematic, and just because we have so many problems with Interstate 81 and all the traffic that comes through that way, if we had some kind of sequencing in place there, and I know it's a whole different animal when you're talking about City of Salem and the county, but is there any hope for that?
Indeed, it is. So a couple things. We have been working very closely with the City of Salem to better integrate signal operations between VDOT and the City of Salem. And we've made a lot of investments and headway in that direction. Some of those investments has also been some really high talented folks that we brought on board. I have behind me, stand Andrew, Dr. Andrew Nichols is the gentleman now that manages our signal operations and does a lot of the operational analysis of these types of things and helps support much of the information and travel times and things of that nature that you saw in my presentation. So we've certainly invested both in bringing high talent to the team, and we're also investing in the technology that would allow that better plan, certainly planned, but then what we're doing is we're actually getting in a way where our traffic operations center that's staffed 24/7 would have the ability to immediately interact and
Wouldn't
change
that be
signal
great?
timings
Oh, my
along
goodness.
that critical corridor through the City of Salem. We're a little ways away from that yet, so
So
we're
what-
sort of in a
do you
crawl,
have a
walk, run.
timeline?
And within the next, 3 months, we'll have the operation there. Making that a 24/7 operation requires us to integrate that into our Operations Center software. What will happen in the interim, though, is that VDOT would have the opportunity, whether it be Dr. Nichols, whether it be other members of our traffic signal group that may be, on and trying to deal with an issue that's on our freeway, because we have a group that's really focused on freeway operation when it stops, that we would be able to then interface with that with some of our technical and engineering staff. Eventually, we'll evolve that to be the operators that we have over there at 2 o'clock in the morning that are not engineers and they're not signal technicians, but we'll have integration of those systems over the course of the next year that'll enable that to take place seamlessly.
So I heard something about 3 months. What was the 3 months?
In the next 3 months, and I'm given 3 months, is that fair?
We should have City of Salem signals online in our platform that will kind of facilitate.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
That
Well,
is awesome.
and I will say that we accelerated the funding for the project in the City of Salem. If you go back, that was one of the top priorities we identified in trying to get 81 funding to. We bonded, to get money coming earlier. The initial goal was to try to have these signal improvements in place when the construction started. Well, we've been able to move forward with construction early. That's a great thing, but it actually got ahead a little bit of some of the
hear
signal
ya.
improvements. But we're getting those signal improvements online now.
That is
And certainly,
fantastic.
once we get that segment through Salem to where we have 3 lanes to Wildwood Road, that is probably our Achilles heel along that corridor, is right there through the City of Salem. Because when you divert off, that's one of our lowest capacity kind of diversionary routes. Once we get to Wildwood, West Main Street actually has a much better capacity carrying characteristics to it, so that problems we have in that segment will still be painful, but they just won't be as painful as what it is when we have a problem right there before you get to Wildwood Road and everyone has to divert through the City of Salem, because it's a very limited capacity
So many
parallel route.
lights.
Yeah. But we're certainly working with that, and we've talked more than once, I know, Ms. Hooker, about the pain that's felt. And I don't want to sugarcoat that either. We'll be under construction for the next at least 10 years on the corridor from Salem all the way to Christiansburg, and we're going to have a period of time. If you're coming from the New River Valley, you're going to go through construction twice. You're going to go through construction at the base of the mountain, then you're going to make the section that will have nice 3-lane getting you through to 581, and then the 581 to 150 will be under construction for a considerable period of time as well. So it's going to get worse before it gets better, but we are so pleased to be in a position to have the confidence of General Assembly and our I-81 committee and our Commonwealth Transportation Board that has made the funding investment available for us to make these significant improvements to Interstate 81. It's the largest improvement we've had since the interstate construction. So we're very excited to be a part of that right
We
now.
appreciate it.
And I'll just add some color to that comment. We have been fortunate for this area to have the widening projects on 81. Not everybody does yet. We have had some great leverage and some great representation, both at VDOT and the General Assembly. So we can thank Delegate Austin in large part because he's on the Money Committee, and also he's was chairman of Transportation, but now he's still on the Transportation Committee, but he's also on the Budget Committee, which is huge. I would like to do this sometime in the next 3 or 4 months, schedules permitting. I'd like for several of us to go see the Operations Center on 81. I think Ms. Hooker would enjoy that. I know, Richard, you and I have been talking about going for 2 years. We haven't gotten there because of everything else going on. And certainly others may be.
I would love to see it again.
Mr. Radford especially, he's on the TPO with me. We should probably go sometime.
We'd be delighted to have you.
Yeah, you know, so I'll let you all can check our schedules, your schedule, and everything else.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. You get an A+
Thank you.
today on your presentation.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to item E, first reading of ordinances. Number 1, ordinance amending Chapter 5, Animals and Fowl, Article 2, Dogs, Cats, and Other Animals, Division 2, License, and Division 3, Rabies Control, to provide lifetime licensing tax on the ownership of dogs and cats in Roanoke County. Chair recognizes Kevin Hutchins, Treasurer, for the first reading and request for the second reading. Mr. Hutchins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Before you today is an ordinance eliminating the annual and 3-year dog and cat licenses requirement and establishing a lifetime licensing requirement. The General Assembly first enacted an animal tag licensing requirement in 1984 to help control the spread of rabies with household pets, provide a funding source for locality rabies clinics, and offer a mechanism to identify pet owners. In 2007, the General Assembly amended the Code of Virginia to require veterinarians to report every 30 days to their local treasurers the owner and animal information for all dogs which had been inoculated during the preceding 30 days. After 90 days, if the animal owners have not purchased the required license, the treasurer is required to send a notice to the owner prompting the owner to purchase the license. The statutory requirement has created an administrative burden for localities in the Commonwealth, both in staff time as well as monetary impact. Localities incur monthly mailing costs and annual renewal notification costs. It may be argued that such costs do not justify the low revenue generating licensing program. In Roanoke County, ongoing administrative costs have increased to more than $8,000 annually, while generating an average income revenue of just $43,000 as we've calculated for the past 3 years. Additionally, over time, Roanoke County has seen annual license issuance decrease from approximately 5,500 to just 2,500 licenses. This corresponds with a 2016 statewide study which concluded that only 60% of the animal owners comply with the licensure requirement. Roanoke County also has a corresponding cat license requirement, which maintains the same pricing points as for dogs. It is estimated that compliance by cat owners is less than 20%. Most individual cat owners assert that their pet is an indoor pet, and they therefore do not perceive the need to inoculate their cat against rabies. In 2017, the General Assembly enacted legislation now codified as Section 3.2-6528 of the State Code of Virginia, authorizing localities to issue a lifetime dog license for individual dogs and cats. Please note, this process will have no impact to kennel license for 20 or 50 dog kennel license, or for dangerous dogs as adjudicated by the courts and declared dangerous. There are perceived benefits to the imposition of a lifetime license. By converting to a lifetime license, an animal is licensed just one time, reducing the administrative burden of county staff. Additionally, citizens will not have to be inconvenienced by making multiple trips to the treasurer's office and paying annual fees. Such lifetime licenses will still, however, maintain the integrity of the licensing process and rabies control. While administrative costs have continued to rise, the state has not increased the original maximum fee allowed for an animal license, still allowing localities only the ability to charge $10 annually for the license. When establishing the lifetime tag provision, the state set a maximum fee of $50 for a lifetime tag. However, research has shown that the imposition of a higher license price has been counterproductive to the goal of increased inoculations and licensing compliance. The goal of the program is to maintain proper control and spread of rabies with responsible pet ownership, with minimum government oversight. The main purpose of this program is not revenue generation. Based upon the adoption of lifetime licenses by other localities, a review of the surrounding localities' licensing requirements, the Roanoke County Treasurer's Office recommends that the board amend the county code to provide for a lifetime dog and cat license and to impose a corresponding fee amount of $20 for a lifetime dog fee and $15 for a lifetime cat license. Animal control enforcement would not be affected by conversion to a lifetime license, and the burden would be on the individual pet owner to maintain their current inoculations on their pets for the health and welfare of their animals as well as the public at large. It is anticipated that the proposed ordinance amendments are adopted, there would be an increase in revenue on the next several years as more pet owners purchase lifetime licenses, but those revenues will eventually decrease. The staff would recommend the approval of the first reading and schedule a second reading for November the 19th. At this time, if there's any questions for myself or any technical questions for County Attorney Mr. Peter Lubeck, who has joined me, we would be happy to answer them.
Any questions, board?
No, sir.
Mr. Radford?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Will it be available for pet owners to get those licenses online with a convenience fee, I'm sure?
So that is a great question. Right now, we do not allow that, and that is more of a technical aspect for the software. If we have the documentation from the veterinarian's office in our hand, then we could issue that tag, and we could arrange for it to be processed. However, the software system that provides the citizen-facing element for you to go online, retrieve your bill, and purchase something is not there yet in our AR system.
So you want to see the inoculation with the lifetime, the inoculation record of the pet?
So it's required by law that we have to have it in hand before we can actually issue the tag.
And so that would be nice that we could attach that as we apply online. I'm just thinking efficiency for the citizens, having those records. I mean, we're in the digital world now, Kevin, and so everything.
Well, so there's a manual aspect to this of what we're receiving from the veterinarian's offices right now, but we would most likely have that certificate in hand. But as I stated before, there's not a presentment element within the software currently for us to show and allow you to go in and click to purchase that tag. If we can get that set up within our AR taxing software system, then we will.
Okay. All right.
With a convenience fee.
Of course, naturally.
Thank you, Mr. Radford. Ms. Hooker?
I was just gonna say, I think it's a great idea.
Anything?
I think you'll have more people participate. I don't think people intend to not get their tags renewed. You just forget. And so I think this is a great idea. I applaud it.
I like David's idea of online as well, because let me just be honest.
It's true.
I have my pets, and I hate it when I didn't come out here all the time to have to ride out here with my certificate and do that. So
Yeah.
I think an online, I would have been more apt to do it really quickly if it was online. And I could do it from home or wherever than riding all the way out here to do it. Especially when people are working 8 to 5 Monday through Friday and you're only open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday.
Good point.
We completely understand the suggestion, and our experience demonstrates that responsible pet owners do normally comply. It is the other pet owners who may not comply. that we're hoping that we can generate additional business for and then subsequently turn that into an online presentment.
Well, I wasn't going to ask any questions, but now that they've all had some comments, I'm going to throw a penny on the table.
Yeah.
So does the Code of Virginia need to be changed to an and/or to comply with this request for online? And if so, what's the next steps?
Well, we can
Mr. Lubeck.
address Mr. Lubeck for the state code. However, online bill presentment should have no dictation at all from the state code.
Okay.
Because we're already doing it with personal property and real estate. It's just the system does not have a portal for the animal license
Yeah,
segmentation.
The reason I asked was because of the paperwork that would be involved before you issued the first tag, which is the rabies or whatever that is. I thought maybe that needed to be addressed in the code.
No, sir.
But if it doesn't, we don't have
Mr.
another
Hutchins.
item for our legislative agenda.
That's correct.
Okay? Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance and to schedule a second reading for November 19th, 2024?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? If not, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mrs. Hooker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes. Thank you, Kevin. Item F, public hearing. Number 1, public hearing to receive citizen comments regarding the issuance of not to exceed $75 million general obligation school bonds of the county of Roanoke and providing for the form and details thereof in accordance with Code of Virginia, Section 15.2-2606. Laurie Gearhart, Director of Finance and Management Services. Welcome, Laurie.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. This item is to conduct a public hearing to receive citizen comment regarding the issuance of not to exceed $75 million in general obligation school bonds of the County of Roanoke, Virginia through the Virginia Literary Loan Fund. The state code requires a public hearing to be held in advance of the issuance of any bonds by a locality. This public hearing satisfies this requirement. So staff recommends conducting the public hearing to satisfy the state code requirements and receive citizen comment on the issuance of not to exceed $75 million in general obligation school bonds of the County of Roanoke.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Gearhart? Not, I'll open the public hearing. Do we have anyone to speak? Anyone here to speak on that hadn't signed up? That said, I'll close the public hearing. Thank you, Laurie. Item G, consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted by one resolution in the form or forms listed below. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Does any board member wish to remove any items on the consent agenda for discussion?
No, sir.
No.
Okay. Motion to adopt all matters on the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mrs. Hooker?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes, thank you. Item H, citizens' comments and communications. Any citizens wanting to address the board and have not submitted a form? Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Nobody? All right. With that said, we'll move on to item I, reports. Is there a motion to receive and file the reports that have been included with the agenda under item I?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, will the clerk call the roll?
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mrs. Hooker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes. Item J, work sessions. Number 1, work session to review the Board of Supervisors, the status of the County of Roanoke's ongoing capital improvement CIP projects as of June 30th, 2024. Laurie Gearhart and Steve Elliott will report on that. Number 2, work session to review Board of Supervisors 2025 board meeting calendar and planning commission schedule. Mr. Kaywood and Mr. Lubeck will discuss that. Momentarily, the board will recess to the third floor for the work sessions. However, before doing so, I'd like to move that the board go into closed session upon the completion of the work sessions. Item K, closed meeting pursuant to the Code of Virginia. I move to go into closed session pursuant to the Code of Virginia, 2.23711, subparagraph A, Part 5 of the Code of Virginia for discussion concerning a prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community. Specifically, the board will discuss potential business location or expansion in the Catawba and Cave Spring magisterial districts. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mrs. Hooker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. North?
Yes. The board will now recess to the third floor for the work sessions and closed sessions. Thank you.